suffering much more.
Right. Well, I think one of the big questions here, though, is not necessarily if even the sanctions are good, but if they're too late to affect any change or even help Ukraine. And I think you look at Putin, and he is such a person that really ultimately only cares about Putin and how he's going to look. And this is something where if he pulls out now, he's going to look bad at home and he's going to look bad abroad. And for him, I don't think he really cares too much about his people and how it impacts them economically. As long as he can maintain his stature amongst them, and he is right now, then I think he's fine.
Just a week ago, we talked about the Newsweek piece that went through essentially a day in the life of Vladimir Putin. Everything from what he has for breakfast to his penchant for swimming to the fact that he likes dogs. And one thing that it made very clear based upon how he consumes information was that he does not care very much about international opinion. Right. He recognizes that his strength is all domestic and it's at home. And the New York Times points this out by saying that poll results released Tuesday by the Levada Center showed the Russian public barely concerned about sanctions. More than 60% of respondents thought they would have little or no impact on them. Mr. Putin remains hugely popular. Brian, until that changes, I'm not sure that any of Putin's calculations change, particularly in Ukraine, where he so far comes out a winner. Despite the tragedy of the shoot-down, domestically, politically, he's in pretty good shape.
Well, it helps to have a media that parrots your message as opposed to questioning you.
Yeah.
That's an awfully useful tool to have at your disposal, right? But and the messaging after in this situation is galvanizing. It is, yeah, okay, the West is putting these penalties on us, but I'm going to use that as an excuse to build up, to rally the Russian people to create more products domestically, more military products domestically. We're not going to rely on the West. We're going to do it ourselves. We're not going to rely on the West for credit cards. You make it so we can't use Visa and MasterCard in Russia? Fine, we're going to create our own payment system right here in Russia.
It almost seems like he could have predicted this, saying, watch what the U.S. does. They're going to come back and blame us for everything and put the pinch back on us. It's almost as if we're playing into his hand.
Well, to an extent, domestically, as Buck was saying, that seems to be the way it's playing out. What's going to affect things, hopefully, in the long run, are conditions on the ground. These sanctions will have some effect. When you go after the banks, you go after the flow of capital, it will have an effect. Now, one fact that is kind of going to be an I guess undesired consequence is it's going to push a lot of the capital business away from the West's hands and into Asia's.
Well, actually, sorry.
In particular China, and that will strengthen the ties between Russia and China.
See, I had a question.